Mr. Peabody is a talking dog who is the smartest living thing in the world, but when he is rejected for adoption by any human as a puppy, he devotes his life to science and technological discoveries. When Mr. Peabody finds Sherman as an abandoned infant, he manages to legally adopt the boy and lovingly tutors him from a young age with the use of a time machine called the WABAC. In this enriching spirit, life for the dog and his son proves to be a series of wild adventures throughout time. Eventually, Sherman has to go to school, much to Peabody's consternation at being separated. Unfortunately, on his first day, Sherman innocently shows up classmate Penny Peterson in history class with his first-hand knowledge. Piqued, Penny bullies and humiliates Sherman, going as far as calling him a dog, because he is raised by one, until he is finally provoked into biting her. In the resulting visit with Principal Purdy, the bigoted Children's Services agent Ms. Runyon informs Mr. Peabody that she will reclaim Sherman if an upcoming inspection of his home is deemed by her unfit for the boy. Peabody invites the Petersons over to resolve the conflict. While Peabody charms Penny's parents Paul and Patty, Sherman is forced to entertain the evil Penny. Eventually he is forced to disobey Peabody and shows her the WABAC to impress her, which leads to them joyriding in it. Sherman returns moments later in the present to tell Peabody that Penny is in ancient Egypt and refuses to leave her engagement to Pharaoh King Tutankhamun. When they travel there to retrieve her, they explain to Penny that she will be killed upon Tut's young death, but she is dragged to the wedding while the duo are imprisoned after saying they will stop the ceremony. They escape and impersonate the god Anubis long enough to call off the wedding and return to the WABAC. With the WABAC being low on energy, the trio stop in Renaissance Florence to seek the aid of Leonardo da Vinci to recharge it. While the geniuses arrange the machinery, Sherman and Penny find themselves growing closer as they try Leonardo's flying machine without permission. Angered at Sherman's disobedience, the following trip's tense atmosphere grows much worse when the WABAC is endangered by a black hole, while Sherman is upset that Mr. Peabody didn't tell him that he is at risk of being taken away by Children's Services. As a result, the WABAC crash lands in the Trojan War, where Sherman runs away to join the army of King Agamemnon. When Mr. Peabody and Penny come to retrieve him, they are swept into the final sacking of Troy as the Trojan horse rolls out of control with Penny inside. Eventually, the Trojan horse is destroyed and Peabody is apparently killed in the wreckage. Desperate to save his father, Sherman and Penny return to the present a few minutes before Sherman returned the first time to get Peabody to remedy the situation. Unfortunately, they are too late to leave before that event occurs, followed by the arrival of a copy of Peabody, who had survived and built a more basic WABAC, and Ms. Runyon herself. Now confronted with two Shermans and Peabody unable to explain the bizarre situation adequately, Ms. Runyon summarily declares the home unfit and seizes both Shermans despite Penny's protests that she was at fault. This disrupts the time-space continuum when the copies touch each other and both Mr. Peabody's and Sherman's merge. Now with her suspicions confirmed, Ms. Runyon drags away Sherman again, and Peabody, enraged at the sight of her hurting his son, momentarily reverts to instinct and bites her. Now with the pretext to call animal control to have Peabody destroyed as a dangerous animal, Mr. Peabody and Sherman flee in the WABAC. However, a time vortex appears and various historical figures and objects are pulled to the present, causing the WABAC to crash and Mr. Peabody is about to be taken away. At this, Sherman protests, saying this is all his fault and declaring that he would rather be a dog to be a person as good as Peabody. Moved by this, every historical figure concurs along with Penny, and her parents and U.S. Presidents George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Bill Clinton declare their support for Peabody's legal custody of Sherman. Finally, to stop the vortex, Sherman suggests that they use the WABAC to go to the future by a few minutes to undo the damage. With Sherman piloting and Mr. Peabody handling the computations, they are successful with all the historical things returned to their proper times, while the smitten Agamemnon forcibly takes along Ms. Runyon as well, the latter swearing revenge on Peabody. At the end, satisfied that the space-time continuum is contaminated in only minor ways, Mr. Peabody and Sherman are closer than ever in a happy life with Penny a close friend.